What's good, my paranormal soldiers? How's everybody doing on this hot Saturday? Well, I don't know if it's hot where you are, but here in Massachusetts, it is fucking hot. It has been hot, excuse me, for like 2 weeks, like boiling hot. Yes, I'm in a sweatshirt because it's air conditioning in my house. Where it is not air conditioning is upstairs in the attic where I built the studio. So here I am again in the kitchen. And if you guys would like to know how to make a watermelon sangria, check this out. Take a screenshot, make yourself a watermelon sangria, and enjoy. Yes, I did see the podcast last night with the ex employees from the Conjuring House. I did hear everything they had to say about their ex boss, Jacqueline. I seen everything they pulled up on screen as far as their proof. I do have a lot of questions, which is normal. And yeah, so while I was watching the live, I was also getting inboxes from people who were in some shape or form affiliated with the Conjuring House, going all the way back from when Norma Sutcliffe owned it. Okay. I am getting some emails about Andrea Perrin, but I'm going to deal with that at another time. But I am getting messages about Norma Sutcliffe, Corey, and Jacqueline. So the messages that I'm getting are pretty disturbing if they're true. Everything is alleged. No one has sent me receipts. They're just telling me what they know, what they've seen, what they've heard, etc. So everything I'm about to say is alleged. It's all alleged. But from my understanding, Corey is no different than Jacqueline. It is being alleged that he is like Jacqueline. He's demanding, he's controlling, he would have fits of rage and anger. People didn't get paid. He left people stranded there. A whole bunch is being said. Again, it's all alleged. So I don't know. No receipts. I got no receipts. But I did get a name of somebody named Roxanne that was a partner in a Conjuring House with Corey when he first got it. And I found the podcast where she talks about what happened between her and Corey. She talks about meeting Norma Sutcliffe. There's a lady who also is in this podcast who knows Norma Sutcliffe, and I believe their husbands died 2 years apart. They talked about selling the house, why Norma wanted to sell the house, what she expected out of the next owners. There's a lot in this podcast that they talked about. So what I did was I just kind of clipped it down to share what Roxanne went through with Corey, allegedly went through with Corey, because we don't know the truth. It's hearsay. She's saying one thing. I'm looking for proof, and if I find proof, I'll put it out there. But right now, it's all hearsay. The reason why I'm putting out this video is because I am from New England. I was born and raised here, and I love being a Yankee. I love being a New Englander. I love being a masshole. I love Massachusetts, and I love the history of Burrillville, Rhode Island. I love Roger Williams, like I said in my last podcast. So it bothers me that all this is going on. In my opinion, I think that the town of Burrillville should just buy the Conjuring House, although Jacqueline probably won't sell it, but buy the Conjuring House and let the people in the town run it, decide what they want to do with it. Do they want to make it a family home and stop the business there? What do they want to do? Let them handle it. That's what I say. But it's just me. Who the hell is going to listen to me? I don't know. Nobody. But anyway, I do have a lot of questions as to some of the evidence that was shown on the podcast last night and some of the things that were said. Like, why didn't Cody and Satori leave if Jacqueline was demanding that they do their method whenever she said? How long was she demanding that they do that? You guys worked there for about 2 years. So why didn't you guys ever leave? Did all this bad shit that's being alleged happen in the past couple months? Did it happen for the whole 2 years you were there? How hard is it to go down the street and get some rock salt? Like, yeah, you didn't get a hold of your boss, but how long did you not get a hold of your boss? Was it a couple of times? Was it every day? Was it once a week? How often was it? That's what I'm pretty sure a lot of us would like to know. A little more detail. I understand things can't be said because people are afraid to be sued by Jacqueline, but if you're telling the truth, you can't be sued for telling the truth. You're telling the truth. Unless they signed NDAs, I don't know. Nobody has said they signed an NDA. So I've talked to a few people who work there who said, I didn't sign an NDA. I don't know. Maybe Cody and Satori had to sign one. Maybe Aaron had to sign one. Maybe Reed. I don't know. I really don't know. So anyway, let me just stop fucking talking. I came across that podcast. I'm going to play you guys about 30 minutes of it because it's an hour and 35 minutes long. But I did put the link in the description so you guys can go and check out the whole podcast. I'm not trying to bash anybody, especially Corey. Again, I just want to know the truth. If not for everybody, for myself, because I love history and I love the history of New England. I love it. A lot of you might not understand because you might not like the history of your state. And that's you. That's your prerogative. But I love the history here and I don't like when the history gets told wrong. And it's just ridiculous that the Conjuring House is going through this and it's fucking up part of history that us New Englanders grew up learning about. And it's fucking pissing me off. It's pissing me off more than Cody and Satori and their tapping method. Like, seriously. And honestly, in my opinion on that whole podcast, what really got proved? What got proved? It's going to be fucking funny if Jacqueline comes out with an email saying, all of you send me a resignation letter by this date or I'm going to let you all go. I'm giving you the chance. Look at my eyebrows. They're just out of control. Oh my God. Jesus. You know, that could be possible. She could come out and say, no, here's the email prior to that where I said, I got to let you guys all go, so I'm going to give you the chance to resign. Who knows? Again, I heard there was a town meeting and they told Jacqueline that, hey, get rid of what's going on there or else. You know, I don't know. That's alleged too. Haven't got the receipts and the video that you said you were going to send me. Where is it? Where's the video? I haven't seen no town hall video. So that's alleged too. And to get one thing straight to some of you people out there, when I said in my last video, can I go to the Conjuring House? Blah, blah, blah. That's a joke. It's a running joke. If you haven't watched all of my videos, we got banned basically from the Conjuring House for talking shit. We're not really talking shit, but proving lies that were being told by Jacqueline or Cody and Satori or other people associated with the Conjuring House. So me saying that I want to go there and looking like I'm begging, that's just a fucking joke. Take it fucking easy. And for the Palestine person, whoever the hell you are, to sit there and say that I have accused Jason Hawes of faking and selling his evidence, this is what I say to you. Fuck you. Because I've never said that. I've never said that. Ever, 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 ever. And I even watched back all my fucking videos. I watched Jason Hawes' videos, and I could give two shits what you say, but don't fucking tell lies on me. Don't fucking do that. Please. Get your facts fucking straight, okay? That's all I gotta say about that. Also, I'm not sticking up for Jacqueline here at all. I'm not against anybody here. I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck happened. This shit has been going on since before Jacqueline bought the house. This shit started back when Andrea Perry and her mother made up a story, in my opinion, about it being haunted. Norma Sutcliffe lived there. She had a daycare there. Would you send your daycare kids there knowing that that place is haunted or risk your children seeing something or whatever? Like, it just goes back a long time. So Norma did a good job with the house. That was her home. She loved that place. Her husband loved that place. He loved coming home from work to that place. And then all of a sudden, the Conjuring movie comes out and her whole life goes to shit. Like, they just get bothered. A whole bunch of shit happened, guys. But anyway, listen to this interview and then go back if you need more information and listen to the whole interview in its entirety. That's all I got for now. I will be back this week with a couple more videos because I found some things that were said on the panel that they contradicted themselves with. And I'm going to show you guys that in the next day or two when I get the video out. It won't be tomorrow because Sundays is just my day. I don't do shit but lay around, and that's about it. I'm not going to come back and give you guys my thoughts on what I think about what Roxanne says about Corey and the house itself and how she talks about Norma. And she talks about Norma really good. But I'm not going to come back and say anything. I'm just going to let it play. So basically, I just want you guys to put what you think about the podcast in the comments below. And then I'll answer them as I go through them and look at them. And if anybody has any information that I have not put out correctly, please don't be afraid to let me know. Don't be afraid to let me know. And again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. Everything coming my way is alleged because people are afraid of being sued or having bodily harm done to them and other things. So it's just me being a New Englander, loving our history, and wanting to know what the fuck is going on. That's it. That's it. So until the next video, I want to thank all of my subscribers and members for such great support. We really appreciate it. And yeah, that drama with GT and Paranormal, that shit is squashed. It is over. No, we will never investigate with them again. They will never investigate with us. We will never even talk again. And that's all you all need to know. All right, my babies. Love, peace, and hair grease. I'm out, and enjoy the 30 minutes of this interview with Roxanne, who used to own the Conjuring House with Corey. Check it out.
I'm creating a farm and they created a farm. Yes, that's what we're doing that, but the bottom line is that that's what that place was. That's what these places were. They were farms. This is what these places were meant for. And that's what that house was meant for. And these places are going by the wayside, and it's sad. So
and that kind of leads us into
the intentions.
Right.
And how this all evolved, which I'll let Amy.
Yes. Yeah.
So Amy, so not to interrupt you, but so she decided to sell the house. That's kind of where we're at right now.
She was, our conversation was she wanted to sell probably because she didn't think she would be able to, continue because of the maintenance.
That's a lot of work,
and being there by herself. And, but she didn't want to put it on the market.
Right, because it would just cause a shitstorm.
Hullabaloo.
Yeah. I can understand that because, not to throw off topic, but real quick, I lived in Riverside, Rhode Island all my life. And in Barrington, there was the Brendel murders that happened. And when that house went on the market, my mother called me, the Brendel house is on the market. I want to go to an open house just so I can walk through it and see it. So,
well, that's what she didn't want.
Exactly.
She didn't want her house she didn't want people just walking through to look through. So basically, it never went on the market. So if anybody has told someone that it was on the market, it was never on the market.
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
So I just want to clear the air on that. So I called my real estate agent, who's a lawyer as well, and spoke to her and said that my friend was considering selling her home but doesn't really want to put it on the market. What can we do? How can we make this, so that people just aren't walking through, if she's going to sell it. And then when I had just mentioned it in passing, really, which was odd, when we were talking at the shop, we were just having a general conversation. And then, Roxanne says, "Oh my gosh, I'm interested." I said, it's, nothing's been done yet. I said, she's just in talking with the lawyer who's a broker.
Yep.
Who's a real estate broker. And so I said, well, why don't you guys have a conversation and see what happens? At that point, Roxanne kind of ran with it and decided, I want to move forward. And that is how it started.
So,
I never had met that guy, Corey, at all at that point. Never met him, knew nothing about it, even though I had hung around at the shop, had never met him.
And it seemed like a good fit at the time because, like you said, you had already been working with Roxanne, and you know what Roxanne stood for, and your friend.
And I did explain that she wanted to keep the integrity. Whoever she did sell it to she wanted to keep the integrity of the home.
Right. So that's what I was getting to. So Norma and her husband, they returned that place to what it originally was, and when she left, just like my home. When she left, she wanted it to stay that way because that's what they worked to do. You know what I mean? To restore it back to what it was.
To keep it the integrity of it. And it doesn't mean that when somebody buys something, they can't do what they want. Absolutely. But that's why she was being very cautious and talking to the person and saying, this is what I used to do here. She used to run teas out of there. She used to run little workshops for teaching people how to use beehive ovens, because there's more than one in that property.
Wow, really? I didn't know there
yeah,
was.
she used to
Wow, that's
She
amazing.
used to cook right in the beehive ovens for
That's a
people.
skill. That is an amazing. I actually take a trip out to Deerfield, Massachusetts, to go to historic Deerfield, and I go on the days when they do the cooking classes on the beehive ovens, because that's a dream of mine to be able to do that.
And Norma's
That's
been in
amazing.
magazines for it.
Wow,
She's
that
been
is
in magazines
amazing.
for it. Yep.
That
Like
is
I think Colonial Homes, when she was in, a couple of different ones.
that's truly amazing.
And she used to have outfits she used to dress up in, colonial outfits, and she used to do demonstrations, and she loved it. I mean, it was something she did.
Now,
And
let me intervene here for 1 second. Now, I got to ask you a question, and I know it might be too early to ask this, but I've got to ask it because people listening to this podcast, when we finally put it out over the interwebs, as I like to call it, when they listen to this podcast, if they truly listen to this podcast and they listen to the details of the podcast, because it seems, and I'm going to say because it's my show, I don't really care, it seems that certain people listen to this podcast, but they don't listen to it correctly. They miss points. But right now, from what I'm hearing, okay, it was a farm. There were animals. Her husband loved it. He loved coming home. He loved living there. She loved
had his own
living
library
there.
in the house too.
Right. She had children in that home. Okay? You see where I'm going with that? To me, that is not a house that was portrayed in that movie, because if it was according to what we know in the paranormal field, which I'm going to say it too, nobody is an expert in the paranormal field. Until the day someone can make a ghost appear, talk to me, and disappear at will, then I'll say you're an expert. Nobody's an expert in this field. I don't care. Debate me all you want.
Well, it's an uncharted field too. It's like
right.
It's just like we can prove that there's water. We can
There's
prove
something.
There's air, but we can't. That it's a science or an ideology that can't be proven at this time. We
Right.
can have maybe certain types of evidences and certain type of experiences, but not everyone's going to have that. Not everyone's going to have the same experience. I can't see what someone else can see, because now you're looking at the enlightenment and the higher mind.
Right.
That's a whole different animal.
Exactly.
So, yes.
And even with
So,
with this house, to me, they always say that demons and demonic entities, and Zach Bagan's my buddy who I like to rag on all the time. He gets possessed. But they always say one thing: demons and demonic entities and bad spirits love to go after children. Okay? If this house was really that bad, and you're saying that Norma, and I'm not debating this, I'm just saying that it's a fact that Norma and her husband were intelligent people. So if that house was really that bad, do you think she'd have children in that house? I say no.
First of all, I would say, here's my opinion. If I have a child and I send my child there and they come home complaining of things, you're not going to send your child back.
Right.
She had, oh my gosh, over 20 years. I can't even tell you how many kids.
My mother
She
runs a
had there.
daycare, so I mean,
No,
I
and one of
I
them-
can tell you truthfully,
One of them
there are a
was
lot of
news
kids.
reporter.
I'm sorry.
One of them was a Channel 10 or 12 news reporter's kid.
Yeah, and they would love to hop on a story like that my kid is in the Conjuring House. Come on. They didn't, so that ought to tell you something.
Well, I mean, but I don't know. Everybody's experience is different. But I'm telling you, I think that I'm telling you what I saw, what I saw Norma having the kids there. I actually had a foster child for a short period of time, for about 4 months, who needed a home, and I took her in, and then I sent that child to Norma's daycare for 4 months, and I never had a problem. The child never complained about anything, never came home and said anything. So, I mean, that's my experience. I've been in the house numerous times. I never had a problem.
But here's
Never
my
experienced anything. But that's just me.
Well, here's my point that I made to Roxanne. It's all in what you make it. Like I said in one of the previous podcasts, if you go back and listen, we could right now paint a picture that there's a ghost standing right in front of me. And if we do it correctly, people are going to believe it. It's all in what you make it, And it seems like Norma and her husband made that place a loving place. and there was no
Oh,
issues.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I don't think anybody, an educated person in their right frame of mind, would stay there for 30 years if they were having that kind of a problem.
Right.
That's just me.
And we're not
If it was,
slandering anybody. We're just
no, I'm
saying
just
in
saying, I would
general.
say, in my opinion, I don't think that somebody would stay there.
I definitely wouldn't.
No, I know I wouldn't. And I consider myself educated. And if I was having a problem with something like that, I would probably not stay there now.
So back on track. So Norma didn't want the house on the market because of all the riffraff that was coming through. And she felt, did she feel that Roxanne was a good choice to get involved in that house?
Yes, we had a conversation. She asked me, I guess, I wasn't there for the conversation though. So I can only tell you what I heard from Norma or heard from Roxanne, is that they had a conversation. Roxanne, disclosed what she did for a living, and that she wanted to keep the integrity of it, and maybe have teas there, have a healing center, have animal. Now, our friend that I told you about in the beginning, Colleen, who runs Dog On It, was looking for a large open space, which that house has 10 acres, to do dog trainings.
Which, in Rhode Island standards, is huge.
Yeah, this is big. So to do dog trainings and have people there for trainings, and then run the business, maybe run her business out of there, or at least have that as a location. Talked about doing classes there, all sorts of healing stuff. Obviously, the paranormal thing would be whatever, a secondary thing.
Like an undertone.
Yeah. So what I had told Norma.
Yeah, actually, Roxanne, before we get too far ahead, can you maybe touch on your conversation with Norma?
Yes, I can. So, Colleen's here also now, and she was there when I was having. I mean, I've had this conversation with Norma every time I went there, because I was there for every walkthrough, for everything.
From water tests to walkthroughs. Yep.
To walkthroughs, I paid for the water test. Like, there's for everything. Because to me, someone's home is like, when they sell it, it's like giving part of their heart. And it's really important to me to connect to that. So I understand when it's getting passed over, that we're still connecting with that same energy. And the more I got to know Norma, the more I got to know about her late husband, the more I realized we were a lot in common. And, the conversation went to, she loves history. And
Right. It obviously shows. I mean, I would love to meet Norma just to talk to her, because I think her and I share the same passion.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and she travels amazing. Like, she is very, like,
so she,
oh my gosh,
like,
versed in a
worldly.
lot of things. She's versed in a lot of things.
She sounds like an amazing person. I got to set up an
She is.
appointment to talk to her for 10 minutes.
You really should,
And
because
you
you
know
can learn a lot from Norma.
Should, because Norma, it's one of those things. I used to, when I first met my husband, I had lived in Warwick, and he didn't know kind of like where I was from and so forth. But I was like, yeah, I lived here, there, and everywhere. And he was like kind of blown away. But you meet someone like Norma, she wasn't just in the United States. Like, this woman has traveled everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
If she wanted,
Oh my gosh.
if she
Minimally
would go,
50 countries.
Yeah.
Minimally.
Wow.
No. And she was not staying at the Ritz, okay? And I took the time to sit there, and I wanted to hear these stories, because you know what? This is history. This is the stuff that, unless you're writing a book or something, it's not documented. I know this because I do Ancestry, and I love to hear the raw stories. And she's lived in all these beautiful countries, but she peed in a cow pasture, or, like,
She's
this is a woman
slept
who
in a
was
tent.
living-
You got to do it
slept in a
sometimes.
tent, ate food with her hands, and foreign things that she never thought she would eat, but did it because she wanted to be humble, and she wanted to be in the experience.
She wants the experience of
Someone else.
living that culture, yeah.
And
Right.
that's just
And
amazing.
it is like this woman should write a book.
She
Oh, I
should.
gotta tell you, I do have to tell you, the listeners, something really funny.
Yeah.
So if I would call, no, this is before cell phones and stuff too. Don't forget, I've known her since I was 20. So this is before cell phones. And then she was really stubborn about getting one.
Like my
Thank God
grandmother.
She's got one now. Yeah, she's got one now though, and she can text and everything. But it was so funny because she would be so stubborn. But I would call the house, and Jerry would answer, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's Amy. Hi, I'm looking for Norma. Oh, she's she's in India. Oh, okay.
Do you know
Then
when
I
she's
would
going to
call
be
the-
back?
Yeah. Then I would call, and then another time I called, she was in England, and then I called again, and this was so funny because he said India. I'm like, okay, Jerry, she was just in India like 2 months ago. Don't even. He goes, no, she wanted to go back.
That's amazing to be able to do something like that. And here's the funny thing too. You mentioned that she traveled and left her husband at home. He was alone in that house and he survived.
Yeah.
Just pointing that
Yeah.
out. But anyway, Roxanne, so yeah, why don't you continue on with the, your conversations with Norma?
So we just, I don't want the whole world to hear some of our intimate stuff, because I will definitely keep that between me and Norma, because I know that's kind of secret.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I explained to her the vision. The vision was, because she asked me point blank, why aren't you on the purchase and sales with Corey? And I said to her, I'm like, for financial reasons, I'm not, and he's going to be my business partner. I said, but he's going to come here and live here. And because we have to do a lot of, logistics. And she goes, it's not easy. You can't just bring tours in here, or you can't just, because this town is very quiet and until the movies, and then I could tell that like she was getting very nervous.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
I'm like, this is not, I said, Amy knows me. I said, and Corey is a great guy. This is all in the past, so he's ex-military, he loves history, he's about respecting things. And, we want to create this to be like a healing farm. And then I told her a lot that me and Colleen do, and how she wanted to bring her animals here on this land would provide that for it. And then she went on and told me about a woman that I think she had interviewed or known who kind of pioneered with autism and animals and kids. She kind of is the one that started, and it's horrible that I can't remember her name, but I put it in my little notes in my phone when I was talking to her, because I'm like, I have to remember this. And she was I felt like she was passing this house on in a good way. And, and I did tell her, I'm like, I'm a psychic medium. I am technically paranormal. I said, but our dream is to help children and help more people. And my thought pattern working with Corey for a year was that he was on that too, because every investigation that I had him come on was with children involved, and they were afraid to be in their home, or they had special gifts, and we had to help them kind of work through that. And he helped me kind of document it. So, and I explained that to her, and she was like, okay with that. I know she had told me, sidebar, after the closing, that she had asked him directly if he was involved in the paranormal, and he had told her no. And I said, that's weird, because I told you he was with me. So this is an educated woman. So I'm telling her one thing, what we're doing, right? She's smart to say, wait a minute, let me ask the other party.
Right.
And he never replied to her, which was not until my knowledge until after we closed. And I had contacted her, about the closing, and, at closing I was there and everything else. So, there was a lot of sidebar conversations after that were between us, and we got to kind of see where certain information was dropped and kind of connected the dots.
So you basically, I don't want to say broker, but you basically had the conversations with Norma, reassuring her that this property was going to stay as is, basically. And there's going to be a slight undertone of, as we talked about before, I get it. a slight undertone of controlled paranormal investigation because, and I said it in a previous podcast with you, that animals are, they're not cheap. You have to make some type of revenue to keep these animals. So I understood that.
So my main theory was in my head, okay, I'm going to use this. Now I've met Andrea Perrin.
I think we all have. I haven't met her personally, but I've met her at Paracon.
Prior to this, she said openly in front of people at Paracon that she already had this house bought. Her attorneys were working on it, and this was like a year because I had told Amy like, isn't it already sold? And she's like, no. So there's a lot of, I call it paradrama.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's just kind of gossip.
To validate your stories with that, I did see those messages that she sent, and yeah. I don't want to get into it too much, but I saw them. So, I can vouch for you.
So the main point of this is, how do I put this?
Can you buy me McDonald's food if I ask you tomorrow?
So yeah. So basically, Corey, when he would come on investigations, now he lives like in Mexico, Maine, so it's like 4 and 5 hours away. He would come and stay at my store, or if we went to other locations out of state, I'd rent a hotel room or like a Airbnb, and my entire investigation team and him, we would all stay there. Okay, so he was always there. He was down here, I think, I would probably say maybe 10, 11 days out of the month when we had very, because I have a lot of things that come in that I normally would handle by myself. So he was going to move into the home. Okay. So
was, but didn't.
Was, right. So when I explained to Norma what we do, what our intention was, it made sense. If I get into this, I'm getting into like people's personal business, which.
Well, I think you just all know that the intention was there, but then it changed.
Right.
Yeah, so it changed drastically.
Me being the person I am, I basically gave someone an opportunity who would normally not have the opportunity. And no, he did not have the liquid cash funds to do it in the way that you need to do it for an investment property. So with that being said, we had to do it in a different way that allowed him to have an opportunity with me, because I thought with my whole heart, not my psychic ability, my whole heart,
he had
the same intention that we had, knowing Amy, knowing her story at this point, knowing that, and these aren't like 7 degrees separation. Like when Amy said, I want you to call Norma, or actually she has an agent, and there's a friend that I refer to. This person was a friend of my husband's family for years on the building.
Yeah, 6 degrees separation,
We're not talking about 6 or 7 degrees separate. We're talking 3, okay, if you get further and further into the story.
Yeah, they basically knew the broker.
I knew the broker as my husband, like as family, okay? My husband knew that it's like family to him, that not to me, but to my husband. So when I called her and she goes, "Oh my God, you're Jess Barrows," I said, "Yes." She goes, "Oh my God, forget it. It's done. I'm going to call Norma." We contact the mortgage guy, and I know the mortgage guy, and we know people, and, it's Rhode Island is a small state.
Oh, it definitely is.
My husband sends in his papers. Corey sends in his papers. All right, I need 30 grand from you, 30 grand from you. I can come up with it. We pulled a line of credit out of my house. He couldn't. So we had to change things, because in my heart, I felt like I was giving, and Corey is a recipient of Purple Heart. And my father was in the military, and I lost him when I was 16. So I felt very drawn to help him. Amy lost her husband. He was in the military. In my head, as a human being, and believing in the higher power, that this was all interconnected for
it was really to the point where it was eerie. It was freaky. Real. It was freaky because it was so many correlations. My husband died from a service-connected cancer he contracted in Afghanistan.
Oh, Jesus Lord!
story is a disabled veteran.
Now here's
So I felt, I felt like you could trust him. I just felt like
Yeah.
this, what things was all gonna fall together, and it was all gonna work out. And my biggest thing was protecting Norma, and I really love her and care about her, and she's been a part of my life for so long. And you just hope and want for the best for everybody. And people's intentions change, and that's unfortunate.
now here's a sidebar.
But this is my thing though. I do feel like I hold responsibility as a human being for the way this happened, because when that moment happened that said this person cannot be your partner because he does not have the funds, the healer in me said, well, I'm not going to take that for an answer. We're going to find a way. But the logical business person, and knowing if I just paid attention to myself, maybe I had someone giving me a reading saying, because we can't read for ourselves, especially when we're emotionally attached to all the individuals in the situation, would say, no, you have a choice to be made here. And this is what I preach. I preach this to my clients, to kids that come in. Listen to your inner voice, just quiet everything else. Even if you don't want to understand it, you're getting those messages for a reason. I just didn't want to take no for an answer. And you know what? My father, he passed away when I was 16. And he used to always say, Roxanne, that's going to be your best and worst gift. I figured best gift when I became an attorney because that's what I was going to school for. But it is my worst gift at the same time because I can't take no for an answer. I always want to help everyone. And sometimes, maybe 7 times out of 10, it ends up screwing me. And for whatever reason, I'm not able to learn from that. And I'm still learning. I am human, maybe 100,000 years old. I don't know. And my soul feels. But, I am human too. And I'm having a human experience trying to help another human. And
you do. I've known you now for a couple of years, and I have seen where you are a very trusting person. You give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. And this is, unfortunately, somebody's intentions changed. And his did. And that's,
It seemed like
but what kills me is that Norma, because I've had conversations with her, we talked about everything. And, there's feeds going out there saying, like, I stole antiques and stuff. No, Norma gave those to me. Okay.
That's a whole nother animal. And I will, I'm going to clear that sucker right up right now. I will tell you right now, everything that was left in that house was only left because of Roxanne. Because Roxanne had planned to have teas there. Norma left teacups, teapots, furniture, her table, everything was left because Roxanne said, Norma, if you're not going to use this stuff or you can't fit it in the new apartment, whatever, I'd really like to be able to use it here or wherever. And it's hers. It's Roxanne's.
And it needs, truthfully.
And I didn't even take everything because at that moment I was so heart hurt. I could only take what I could fit in my car and my trailer.
Well, truthfully, those things belong back to the house. I feel as though if you want to get into it in a paranormal sense, I feel that disrupts the energy of the house because you're taking things that were in that house that was put in that house lovingly by a husband and wife who were truly in love. To take those things out, I think it's going to, affect the place. Not only in that sense, but also it's a historical home. It belongs there, That's my thought on that.
Well, RJ, when you're coming from a historical standpoint, that's why I didn't take everything. Okay? Because I was there during the walkthroughs when Norma said, this table Jerry loved. He sat at this end of the table and he held court and he talked about like his life and different things. He loved it.
His books are there.
Yeah, now here's the problem now though. The place is going to be open to the masses. I mean, you can come right out and say it because after a little investigating that I did today, because, hey, listen, this is public knowledge. I'm not doing anything wrong. there is a Facebook page. I forget what it's called. It's something like the farm on Round Top or whatever the hell it is. I looked at it, and you know what I saw? Paranormal investigation, ghost hunters, ghost teams. This happened, that happened, this, that. Everything to do with paranormal to make it a money-making entity. So now when people come into that house, they're not going to look at it as this was a loving home belonging to a husband and wife. This is where he sat and held his court. This is where Norma sat and drank her tea. This is where he sat in his library and read his books. No, they're not going to see that. They're going to go off of a movie that had nothing to do with what actually happened in that house. That's just
But you
me.
know what? But RJ, you know what the most beautiful part is about being connected to spirit? Is that I left, which I did not have to, and nor did I want to do it willingly, but spiritually I heard, leave the table, leave the settle bench, leave the side table. And these were furnitures made by kids that were autistic, that had disabilities, that gave these things to Jerry for the help that and service that he did for these kids.
Right. And now it's
We
going to
wanna
be, it's
talk
going to
about
be
it.
ruined.
No, we want to talk about paranormal. That's great. You know what? People are hunting ghosts, and ghosts are hunting me. Okay? Since I was a little kid. And you know what? A lot of the kids that Jerry helped, because I read a lot of his stuff, ghosts were hunting them too. So there's a bigger picture that will blow people's brains if I even talked about it.
But see, that's what's good about you is you're not. We're talking about the Conjuring House just because we want to put this to bed. We want this unfortunate incident to kind of not be connected to you anymore, as painful as it is. You know what I mean? To get away from it, because you are so much more than this house, and that's what.
Yeah, and I mean, people have to realize how hurt Roxanne was by this whole thing, and how hurt
absolutely.
I was, and how hurt Norma was. Like, you just have expectations of people, or that they're going to follow through with their word, and they don't, and that's a problem. No matter what transpires, if people disagree, whatever, I want it this way, you want it that way. At the end of the day, you still have to maintain what your main intention was.
And I
Because
have to.
Everything's a bumpy road.
It definitely is, and I was always
But
taught
you know
that.
what bothers me? But you know what? Sorry, RJ.
Oh, that's all right.
You know what bothers me more than anything? And I'm gonna get a little choked up, but
I mean, you lost a friend. That's you know.
no. At this point, I don't. That's my friend Tara.
Oh yeah, we all know Tara. I took a shit in the
Yeah,
Conjuring House.
she's
Hashtag.
like the bulldog. She's like my bulldog. But I don't even that. You know, I got over that and understood that things are what they are, and I, as a person in this field, I have to learn these things, and that's fine. But what hurts me is that Norma should have sold this house. It felt good as like a legacy.
Right.
That it was going to be for the right reason.
And it was going to be in good hands.
She has to live in this horror again, because I feel like I let her down.
But you didn't let her down. I mean, it's
You
like
didn't.
the funny thing is you say that.
This is what makes me. So I go back and forth, and this is what makes me go, you know what? I was going to school to become a lawyer for a reason, to get justice. And this is what makes me think every day, you know what? I was like, I can't do this for my family. I can't, if I take this on, which I have all documentation to handle this. If I take this on, it's going to take away from my clients. It's going to take away from those kids that walk in my store every day, because I'm not going to be here again. I lost time and money doing this. People don't see that. And then I'm like, what is the greater good? When you talk about the greater good, is it like suing him and getting this house?
No.
No. Could I get it? Yeah. But at the end, it's tainted in a way, right? And maybe I could have saved one life, 2 lives, 3 lives in that time, but I was too busy trying to seek revenge for myself or for someone else.
And you're over
Right.
it.
I agree with that.
Because at the end of the day, it's not about revenge. It's a house. You can't take it with you. actually spiritually you can. That's why we have ghosts. They can come back in their own time, and we bump into them, and that's how we get those EVPs. But that will be on the
No, I mean,
we'll talk about that.
You're right, though. You're right. You're saying you can help more people by staying on this path,
right?
Than veering off the path that someone else created for you. Like
right.
He created this path that you say, that you could travel on, but instead you want to stay on this path and help as many people as you can.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the fucking hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder. And fuck all the doubters, they're just fucking downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.